Join us now, Republican Senator Jerry Moran. Senator, thanks for joining us this morning. And I don't, I even think the president probably thinks that the Fed should be independent. But at the same time, I could make a case that a rules-based Fed that, John Taylor's been talking about, might not be a bad idea. There are just times where I wonder if one guy or one institution, and in fact, one individual normally can sway his colleagues, because, a lot of the other Fed members were more dovish. Do you think the gut feeling of one individual that may or may not be totally up on the economic milieu, if you will, at any given time, that's the guy that can either put us into a recession or not put us into a recession? Are you comfortable with that?
Well, I'm certainly not comfortable with one guy or one person being able to put us into a recession. And when I talk about the independence of the Federal Reserve, I mean, maybe the Federal Reserve can be modified, but the point here is the decisions need to be made based upon economic analysis, not on an oversupply of political influence or political decision-making, what's good in regard to the next election. We need short and long-term economic policy, particularly monetary policy, that is based not on the whim of one person or not on how it affects the next election. And therefore, and I would say I hope that the case is in the Open Markets Committee, that while a chairman can be influential, I've seen plenty of instances in the case of my own Kansas City Federal Reserve Board president, in which there is independence and outliers in speaking. And so I just want to make certain that the decisions are made. And the Fed has a dual goal, and neither one of those goals has to do with Republicans or Democrats. It has to do with full employment and control of inflation. So, yes, it is important that decisions be made not at the whim of a person, but the basis, the motivation for making those decisions cannot be politics.
Well, let's say you've got a president, not necessarily Donald Trump, who has tried hard through deregulation or through policy to get the economy growing more quickly than it has in a while. And how do you know at that point whether, if he's jawboning rates to stay low and there's no inflation, how do you know he's jawboning for re-election or jawboning to keep the Fed or to keep the economy growing and benefiting from all the fiscal things that the government's trying to do, and you don't need a headwind that it might cancel out all those hard-won efforts that he made? How do you know it's about re-election and not about wanting the economy to grow?
Well, I think in the case of rising interest rates today, that was highly predictable. In fact, a number of us complained about the past Federal Reserve Board and their monetary policy, Open Markets Committee policy, knowing that the day of reckoning had to come. Monetary easing set the stage for the need for rising interest rates. And the issue here is that the Federal Reserve has not just the idea, the goal of a growing economy, but also the necessity of preventing interest rates at a position in which they don't control inflation. And so while we talk about a growing economy, man, that's what I want. I want more jobs, better jobs, higher paying jobs, more secure jobs. But we also know that there's a consequence that comes to those people who have those jobs if inflation takes away their earning power.
No, we understand that. But also with, you see some wage gains finally for people. And I mean, I'm sure you've argued either pro or con against a Phillips curve analysis. If you've got copper hitting lows and oil hitting, back in the 40s, where you have Jay Powell deciding in his view that inflation is going to be a problem near term. He may be right. He may be wrong. Some people think yes. Some people think no. And he's in a position to say we're way below normal when he's no better than anyone else at knowing how far below normal in terms of interest rates we are. So, just to invoke the independence when some guy might be absolutely wrong in his assessment of the current situation, I'm just not sure that helps either.
The point I would make is that the law indicates that a chairman of the Federal Reserve Board, a member of the Federal Reserve Board, can be removed for cause. Right. My point would be that the cause cannot be that we disagree with their policy, their monetary policy. Over time, a president, the next president, past presidents, all have the ability to influence who makes those decisions. we need to make certain that what you indicated in kind of your opening comments, that
Right.
no one person, no chairman
Right.
is uninfluenced by other factors,
Senator,
including a president.
it kind of looks like the president was right. I mean, not for nothing, but
Well, I'm obviously supportive of the administration's policies when it comes to growing the economy and regulatory reform and tax changes. Those are all good things.
maybe
we want
in
the
spite of
benefits from
himself.
that.
Real estate guy, loves low interest rates. Who knows why? I'm not saying he's like prescient or smarter than Powell, but at the time he was saying it is probably not a bad place to take.
We also know that political influence affects the markets as well.
Yeah. All right, Senator, thank you. We appreciate it. I love Kansas. Anyway, thank you. All right.
Okay, coming up.